A quiet Sunday evening was interrupted by several armed attacks in Russia's Dagestan region. 2 Orthodox churches and 2 synagogues were targeted in the cities of Makhachkala and Derbent. In the regional capital Makhachkala, a traffic police post came under fire too. The attackers shot several law enforcement officers almost point blank. Among the first victims of the attacks were Father Nikolai Kotelnikov, an Orthodox priest in the church in Derbent. The killers cut his throat, while church guard Mikhail, armed only with a gas pistol, which is a non-lethal weapon used for self-defense, was shot dead on the spot. Later, the attackers fired at a police car as it was headed to the site of the attack, wounding one of the police officers.
I went out, just like everyone else standing here. No one is allowed to enter there. We wanted to go and see, but the police wouldn't let us in.
Police also detained one of the local officials on suspicion that 2 of his sons were involved in the attacks. It's believed that both of them were killed in the shootout. After military vehicles were spotted on the streets, the shooting in the centre of Derbent stopped. A number of people earlier barricaded in the church in Makhachkala were later safely evacuated by police. There have been 2 similar attacks in Russia recently that were claimed by ISIL, starting with the Caucasus City Hall assault back in March, followed by an attack on the pre-trial detention center in Rostov last week. But Vladimir Putin has refused to admit that Russia could be attacked by such groups, despite the claims of responsibility. He says any threats to Russia come from Western countries or Ukraine. The question remains how he can respond to these attacks without acknowledging them publicly. Yulia, Shapovalova, Jazeera, Moscow.
I'm joined now by Anna Matveeva, who is a visiting senior research fellow at King's College in London, and she joins me now live from London. Anna, thank you for joining us. Can you talk us through just the context? What are the security challenges for this part of Russia?
Dagestan has been a cradle of radical Islamism in Russia, even actually since Soviet times. The Party of Islamic Renaissance was founded in Dagestan in late 80s, and that was the organization which then gave birth to quite a few movements on the post-Soviet territory, which later became sort of Salafi jihadi orientation. Dagestan has been affected by radical acts of violence of sort of Islamist nature in 90s, that they have not been really very much noted because all attention was to the action in Chechnya, which was much more a separate conflict rather than anything else. So then we had a long campaign of attacks against military and police targets, also against random civilians. The Russian authorities managed to kind of get an upper hand maybe around 10, 12 years ago. And since then, the situation has been largely under control until last year, when we saw quite an unprecedented events that the mob in Makhachkala tried to storm a plane from Israel, motivated by the events in Gaza, and that things went really out of control, but it would not be a coordinated attack by organization. It shows that there is quite active protesters there, and they're capable of acting violently.
And how common are attacks targeting not only religious infrastructure, but also religious figures? In this attack, as we've been reporting, a priest was killed.
Generally, that types of attacks in Russia are very, very rare. There have been a few incidents, low-level incidents against synagogues, but generally attacks on explicitly objects of faith are quite a new phenomenon. Especially now, we know that this Russian priest had his throat slashed, so he was killed in a quite brutal way. So that's a very kind of shows that there is organization, that people are determined, that the 2 attacks have been very well planned, that there were 2 ways of attacks, and that the whole thing has been taken probably months in preparation, with people with evil intention, with great courage, and obviously prepared to spare no civilian life.
And Anna, This attack is still being investigated. What sort of response should we expect from authorities in Russia to ensure that such attacks don't happen again?
That's what they have been wondering all along, because Dagestan already has quite a massive security presence. So everybody who should be there is already there, and still they manage to not to be able to hold this plot or even probably see it coming. So yes, now they have blocked all the main roads, entrances to the cities, but the problem Russia has is wider than that. Its main intelligence assets are all dedicated on the war in Ukraine. Dagestan is far away from that theater of action. So obviously we have intelligence services being depleted, and that's the core problem.
Anna, thank you so much. That is Anna Matveeva, who is a visiting senior research fellow at the King's College London. Thank you for your analysis.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.